Welcome to the Big Roofs Podcast, where we sit down with the most influential leaders in the roofing industry to talk about what it really takes to build a stronger, smarter, and more profitable contracting business. I'm John DeLaurier, former roofing company owner and co-founder of Proline CRM. Today, we're joined by Daniel Dixon from SendJim, a platform that has evolved from simple postcard marketing into a hyper-targeted marketing platform designed to make your marketing dollars more efficient. We dive deep into why the old school way of blasting out thousands of mailers is dead, and why sending fewer cards more frequently to the neighbors of your current jobs is the secret to disruptive marketing. Daniel breaks down the snowball effect of keeping leads in your ecosystem, even the ones you told you no. And he also shares how his own coatings business sold $100,000 in work just by following up with dead leads a year later. We also discuss the critical mindset shift from being a roofer artist to a business owner or general manager who can step away for a 2-week vacation without the company falling apart. If you're tired of high customer acquisition costs and want to understand how to squeeze more juice out of the orange with the leads that you already have, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Roofs Podcast. Today, we just found out that we'd already done a podcast together on the Roofer Show podcast with Dave Sullivan. I just looked that up, but Daniel Dixon with SendJim is with us today. Thanks, Daniel, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, John. It's awesome to be here.
Love it. Well, a lot of people in the space, in all home service spaces, we talk about postcards and door hangers and yard signs and things like that. Tell me just really quick, because I know about SendJim, but a lot of people may not. Tell me what SendJim is. What do you guys do?
Yeah, SendJim started as a postcard marketing platform with a little bit of automation, which I know you are a big proponent of automation. We can talk about that. But now we're really morphing into a hyper-targeted marketing platform where we can do everything associated with creating more leads for you, getting more efficient with your marketing dollars, and really making sure that the money you're spending is spent well on marketing. And that's across text messaging, postcards, voicemails, handwritten cards, gifting, all that type of stuff, all with the automation with our CRM partners.
I love it. Yeah, we have a great integration with you guys. Just in general, I mean, I use a lot of other postcard companies with automations, even before I was using Proline as a roofing contractor. But we talk about customer acquisition costs. What does that mean? And the traditional way, or the ways it's always been done, is like, okay, go throw some money with a marketing agency. It's going to be pretty expensive. And then throw a bunch of money at some ad spend and hope for the best. There can be good marketing companies. There can be not as good. There can be thoughtful ways and efficient ways to use that type of process. But at the end of the day, for most home service contractors, not to say that you should not do it at all, but most people, it's a very expensive customer acquisition cost. And we're not talking about a couple $100. We're talking about north of $1,000 to even $2,000 or higher. And people don't really realize that when they do a job, specifically in the roofing space, they're like, I'm doing these jobs, I'm selling these jobs. Why do I have no money? And what I have found is that being more efficient and more direct and mindful of the way that you market your business with someone like SendJim makes the most sense. I think moving forward, we're kind of going back in time to where print really does make a big impact. And it reduces your acquisition costs. So what have you guys seen at SendJim as far as that goes? Like, I like to get into the nitty gritties of like your customer base. What do they do? How do they do it? We have a mutual customer, CR3, and how are they doing it? Like, they're a big franchise. We understand that part, but like even smaller customers, how are they utilizing SendJim to help them sell more jobs?
Yeah, great question and great topic. I totally agree with all that stuff you just mentioned. the interesting thing is, like, I like to go strategic, and then we can talk a little bit tactical on what some of our customers are doing. So from the strategic standpoint, when we start a business, and I believe you had a roofing business, I have a concrete coatings company. So we both understand this from the not tech space, but living and breathing, trying to get leads, right? And I think that's what makes both of our companies unique, is that perspective. But if you take a step back, when we started our business, we had to acquire new customers and we had to generate leads, and we were desperate for those leads to get us going, right? That's the only way to generate business, was to get a new lead. As you build your business, you have built a customer base and a pipeline of leads that have not gone all the way through the process, or quotes that haven't been converted, or referrals that haven't been leveraged. And so we build this really big, strong muscle of being able to generate new leads, because that's how we started our business. That's what we had to do. That's what we had to practice to get to where we were going to go. And then at some point, we forget that we've got this incredibly valuable asset outside of just generating new leads. And we continue to kind of pay for that, injection of new leads. We pay the marketing agency, we pay the pay per click, we pay social, and that stuff is all good, and we should keep doing that. But there's a lot of wasted or untapped potential that if you were to go sell your company, they're not buying you because you have 5 trucks, or you have 10 employees, or you have this cool website. Like, all of that can be replicated immediately with relative ease. They're buying you because you have all this untapped potential, and they have ways to kind of squeeze more juice out of the orange and to take your brand to the next level. And as business owners that start businesses, we often don't realize that. So what are we doing for these companies, right? Is to take that money, instead of like being willing to take a job everywhere. And I am willing to take a job everywhere, but let's get super focused on where we market, right? Like, let's target the neighbors of the customers that we do business with, because their roof is a similar age, similar style, they have similar types of income, they have similar weather, right? Like, weather is a huge thing for roofing. And so things that we're doing with a lot of our really successful clients that you mentioned are automatically entering the neighbors of your customer or your leads into a direct mail sequence. So let's not send out 100,000 postcards like the old school way of doing it. Let's send out 100 postcards to the closest neighbor saying, hey, your neighbor just booked an estimate with us. We'll give you a free roof inspection too, $1,000 off a roof. When the job's completed, hey, did you see us on your neighbor's roof? That type of copy, and making it hyper local. And then doing things like, when a lead comes in, what do we do to make sure we get that lead to schedule, right? And we have all these unconverted leads, and we can enter them into some type of pipeline, right? Is it a handwritten card? Is it text messaging? Is it postcards? Is it all of those things? When someone comes to your website, how are we retargeting them with digital? And then when they get a quote and they're not, they're in the buying cycle, like, how are we making sure we stand out and that those quotes convert? Like, are we sending them a gift? Are we sending them a handwritten card? How are we personalizing it to stand out from, I just had my roof replaced about 1.5 years ago, and I got 3 quotes, all almost the same price, right? So what am I doing to choose? Is it just based on who I like? Well, what are the factors that we can impact to make it feel like I like this person more, right? Is it that we give them a gift? We write them a nice handwritten card? Those are ways you can stand out. I could go on for days. One more thing I'll mention that's super important is getting the review. Tons of people buy based on social proof, right? In the reviews, and who does my name? The first thing I do if I'm going to make a big purchase, I'll ask my brother who lives down the street, hey, have you bought this or done this with anybody? Like, who did you use, right? Or ask my neighbors, or my neighbors ask me. And so if we can capture that review with automation, and then put that review on a postcard, and then market that review to the neighbors, like, those are the types of things that are hyper targeted and very impactful when it comes to the efficiency of your marketing and bringing down that cost of customer acquisition.
Yep. I'm definitely guilty in the early days of my business to, like, I've got $10,000. Let's send out 3,000 mailers. And I would do it 3 times, and it would be like not scheduled, not well thought out. Just like, I think these neighborhoods are good. I mean, it was somewhat planned out, because I kind of knew, like, we worked with higher end neighborhoods, so we would send to those. And that's just not a great strategy. What do you see from your customer base? Because I know what we did once we started to narrow it down, like you said, like the nearest, we would get to the nearest, I would actually draw on the map and not just do a radius, but actually the same street. Very important. I know somewhat it can be laborious, but if you can actually draw on the street where your customer is, those customers are going to drive by your job site. And so it's another touch point. Then they're going to see yard signs. That's what we did. What are you seeing? So we did either 4 or 8 times for the nearest 50. Usually that's what we did. Sometimes we do an entire neighborhood if there was a storm event. But what are you seeing with your customer base, and what's the most effective? Because I know don't do 3,000 doesn't necessarily work very well. When you do a small group, what does that process look like? What do you see? Like, are the postcards changing? Are there QR codes? What do you see?
Yeah. So 25 to 50 is really common in the roofing space. And then the frequency, right? So if you have the budget to do 100, let's do 25 homes, but let's hit them 4 times. And the reason is that when they get that postcard, this is called disruptive marketing, right? So there's intent-based marketing and disruptive marketing. Intent-based is, I know I need to get a roof and I'm ready to do it right now. And I'm going to go search on Google or wherever, and I'm going to choose a company. Disruptive marketing is saying, hey, we're making you aware that you need a new roof because you just had a hailstorm, or, your neighbor's roof just got replaced. So I'm starting to think like, oh, I probably need to do mine now. But when I get that postcard, I might have a super busy week, or I might have just had another bill happen, or I'm out of town and I'm stressed out. Right. And so we have to stay in front of that customer for as long as possible. So instead of doing 100 cards once, let's do 25 homes and let's do 4 cards over a 4 or 6 month period. I got my roof replaced because we had a hailstorm in my neighborhood, and a year and a half later, it took about a year for everyone kind of in this area to do their roof. It wasn't all at once. And so, there's the door knockers that hit all right away, and they're going to capture a certain percentage. Same thing with the postcards. But how do we stay in front of those people for a long period of time? Because they're eventually going to do it. It's just, are you the brand that's in front of them at that time? So we got to stay in front of them for longer. So that's kind of the strategy we see with the neighbor mailing. We're also getting hyper personalized. So we're putting the street name of the recipient. So if you live on Main Street, right, it's, hey, we just did John, your neighbor on Main Street. They loved us. Here's their review. Right. And so it's not just, hey, it's the neighbor down the street, or we're working in your neighborhood, or like, that's kind of, again, the old way of doing it. But it's like, now it's like, no, we're on your street. This is the name of the street. Your street name is on the postcard. So those are the types of things we're trying to get super personalized and targeted, and then stay in front of a smaller number, but longer.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with Proline, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating Proline.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow.
Now, Proline's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
Yep. I love that. So like we kind of briefly mentioned before we hit record is Roofle. So we like Roofle. I like Roofle. I use Roofle. So it's an instant roof estimator. And a lot of times people will get on your website and they're like, they put their address in, and they have a form to fill out next. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to give out their first and last name, phone number, email. Got it. Well, we have your address now. We know there is a need because you're filling out a form about a roof. Immediately what we did, and I wasn't good at this in the beginning, but I figured out that we had all these address-only leads from Roofle. Yes. And we started to send out postcards to those addresses, and then we would do we were mainly retail. So we did work with storms, but we were mainly retail. But we would figure out these neighborhoods that we didn't even know like were on our radar at all. And so we'd take that one address, and then we would go canvas with door hangers, and we'd send out at least a 4x4 campaign, which is one postcard every week for 4 weeks in that neighborhood. And it'd be personalized, what you said, like, hey, we just inspected your neighbor's roof on Main Street like that. We would do that. And it was very effective. Not only that, once we got one person in there and they, with Proline's automations, we would send a text and email. And now we didn't have voice agents. Now the AI voice agents, what you just said is true. I keep talking about the snowball effect, but this is what we have to do in modern home services now. If you want to sell jobs for less acquisition cost, you have to take all the leads that you have and never give up, never give up, never give up. We have 2 years of automations, and I recommend sending out postcards at a certain frequency for at least 2 years, because whether we're talking about coating concrete, painting, roofing, whatever you're doing, these are big purchases. A lot of the sales cycle is usually longer than what you think.
Yes.
Unless there's a storm event, it's usually going to be a lot longer. So we would sell roofs. Almost all of them were more than a year after we did that automation campaign. So we were we're doing all those things. They're getting the postcard. Hey, honey, there's another postcard from this company again. Throw it away. Hey, honey, there's another. Throw it away. Every month. And then they're also getting texted and email. Like, this is the way you have to move forward in business. You can't just rely on one thing, and you have to snowball, because we sold so many roofs that we had no idea. Who is this? Like, we had no idea. Our sales guys like, oh, that's somebody I met with like last January or something.
Yes.
Like, you have to do that. You have to.
Yeah. We just with my own coatings business, I was looking at this morning, and we do the same thing. We enter them into the SendJim kind of ecosystem or automation system, and we sold, $100,000 of work over the last 12, months, with following up with quotes that actually weren't just open. They said no. They actively said no, or we're going to go with somebody else. And after a year, we basically messaged to them, hey, just following up, I see you had a quote in our system. Want to see if you still had this work, if you had the work done, or if you're still interested. Sold $100,000 to people that told us no. Like, it wasn't just no answer, no response, or I'm waiting. It was like, no, we're not going to do it. And so that's exactly right. It's just the people that are buying your product, they're successful, like you mentioned, in higher end neighborhoods, high value homes. The reason that they have those things is because they're busy, right? Like, they have really demanding jobs, they have families, etc. Those are the people you want to sell to. Well, those are the people that are the busiest. And just because they got a quote and didn't convert doesn't mean they're not interested. Also, because they got a quote doesn't mean they're interested today. So how do we know when they're going to buy? We don't. And we got to stay in front of them for a long time.
Yep. It's so true. I mean, your picture of how you just painted, what most people should be trying to work with, is higher end. Not everybody can do this, but in general, you're going to be more profitable. You're going to have less headaches, and you're probably going to have a better experience from the contractor and the homeowner perspective. You're going to get more 5-star reviews with those types of individuals. They're busy. They want it taken care of. They want it done right. They don't want to have to worry about it. They want you to have a warranty. They want you to have a good reputation. All those things are really, we built our entire business on that for a decade. We did the same kind of thing. We wanted to work with like-minded people who valued a premium service like that. And they're busy. They're waiting until Christmas bonus, tax return, whatever it may be. And you're still sending them postcards, and you're still automating messages. Like, it's the way those people want to be sold to, and they want it to be taken care of. They're thankful that you have built the systems in your business, and they're like, this is a professional company. They actually care about, they understand follow-up. They understand the sales cycle. And to be honest, they just forget about who we are unless you keep reminding them. Like, they're just going to forget within a couple minutes. So you got to continually remind them.
Yes. You also brought up a good point about the kind of what I call the hand raisers, right? So you've got the universe of people that we think could buy our product. And you've got someone that might visit your website, or they go out with a product like Roofle and they start the quote process, but they don't actually, get it all the way there. And so how do I identify people that are looking but aren't actively saying, like, John, I'll give you all my information and come hound me, right? Because we all know when we put the phone number and the email in, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. We're volunteering for that, and that's okay. But there's people that are, interested, but they're before that. So how do we capture them? doing things like when people visit your website, to your point, we can identify them and enter them into a postcard sequence. The address only leads, right? How do we stay in front of those people with automation and all types of communication, and or retargeting them on social media? Because as soon as somebody shows interest, if you spend $10,000 marketing to people that are interested versus $10,000 marketing to a whole universe of people, the return on investment of those interested people is going to be literally 10 times better than marketing to everyone. So we've just got to get smarter. And, I think our product, and there's other products out there that help you do that.
Talk to me a little bit about the retargeting on social media, because that's something that people may have heard about, but they don't really know. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so it's not something we offer as a service today, but I think it's incredibly important. So what is retargeting? It's essentially people that have visited your website, and then you can have something called the pixel installed on your website to say, when someone visits my website, I'm able to identify who that was, and then retarget them with ads or serve them ads on their social media or as they wander around the internet, right? The display ads that show up on the side, or if you've searched something or gone to a website, all of a sudden your Facebook or your Instagram has all these ads that are like, oh, dang, I was just looking at that. Now they got ads. That's retargeting. We can, as home service businesses, it sounds complicated, but if you have a marketing agency, this is 101, they should be doing this for you. If they're not, you should fire them today. But that's where you're going to get a whole bunch of ROI. And so how do we generate these people to retarget to? Direct mail is a great way to do that, because people are going to take a look at the postcard. They're probably not going to call from the postcard, but if they're interested, they're going to go to your website. And so we got to drive people to the website. So you can do that through ads. You can do that, social media ads. You can do that through Google ads. You can do it through magazines, postcards, commercials on TV, radio, billboards. All those things will drive people to your website. But if you think that your website's going to convert them on, the first time they land there, and they're going to come back and they're going to fill out your form and follow the process you want them to follow, it's your cost of customer acquisition, going back to that, is going to be very, very expensive, because there's going to be a whole bunch of people that go there and then they get busy or distracted and they go somewhere else, and then they might Google roofers again and they go to someone else's website and they fill out a form there. Versus if they've raised their hand a little bit and said, I'm kind of interested in this, we stay in front of those people forever until they buy, right? People that visit my website, my concrete coatings website, they're like, you guys are everywhere. You're so annoying on my social media. Every other video or ad is you. And I'm like, that's how we know we're doing our job.
Yep. So it's very, very true. And to go back to neighborhoods, you got to leverage and anchor that one lead that came through, even if it's an address only lead, and just you can immediately multiply your sales activity by anchoring the one house, and then the entire neighborhood's yours now. Your goal is to dominate that neighborhood, because everything you said before is true. Similar type houses, similar type income, similar, whatever your ideal customer avatar is. We had a very specific ideal customer profile. We did. We knew what it was, and that's the type of customer we like to work with, that gave us the most 5-star reviews, that didn't give us any trouble when we wanted to, we wanted to be professionals. And if you find neighborhoods like that, the one address only lead turned into many, many jobs over and over and over again. And even if you are spending, $1,500 to acquire the first customer, well, if you get 10 more in the same neighborhood, your overall customer acquisition cost decreases a lot. Yeah. And you should be trying to do that. You should really be. That's a huge, huge thing that people, they just want to come and do the work and put the door hangers and then leave. It's you're missing it, because you're being, to your point, being very smart about who you're targeting. And if you can continue to do that, you will do actually less effort. It may seem like more effort, but you'll do less effort because your crews will be more busy. You'll be putting out more proposals. Your close rate will actually increase, because the majority of your customer base are your ideal customers.
Yeah.
They're not having tire kickers.
Refer to you, right?
Yep.
You don't have to, you have a much higher close rate. People are going to be less price sensitive or whatnot. If John told me to use this company, like I'm not going to shop for companies. I'm going to say,
Absolutely.
to use.
Absolutely. That it's all connected. You just got to continue to, I just keep seeing this is I do so much video content and then meet with other company owners, and they're still trying to do the thing. Like one of my friends is a cabinet maker. Like he's trying to build cabinets. Like that's not your business. Unfortunately, you're a marketing agency that builds cabinets. You're not a cabinet maker that does marketing. And it's become more and more prevalent each year as technology increases, customer expectations, and customer education. They got ChatGPT now. They got Google, ChatGPT, Claude, all the things now. They're gonna know the right questions to ask. They're very educated. So you have to shift your mindset as an owner of a company, whatever home service it is. You just can't ignore it. And for anyone out there that's a roofer or whatever you own, I personally am not that guy. I'm not the guy who's like, I just love to get into the numbers and look at pixels on website. I'm not that guy. But you have to take the time to understand and to educate yourself enough so that you can hire someone and actually understand if they're doing a good job or not. Because that's where I see is like this, all the marketers are screwing me over. Like, but you don't even know what the results are. You don't know what like KPI is to check. You don't know what's a good marketer, what's the right like hyper targeting. Do you know how to do local SEO? Like all these things are connected. And I think I'm just on a little bit of a rant because I just keep hearing it. Oh, it's 2025 now. And these guys still talk about the service they provide.
Yeah.
Like that's 20 to 25% of the value of your business. If that.
That's
everything else,
right? Like,
yep.
You can go to any distributor, GAF or, whoever's selling the products or the equipment and be like, train me how to do this. And you can go hire people and like within a year have, the service part down. Like providing a good service is not a competitive advantage. Like everybody should be providing good service, and your competitor, even though you think your service is better, like they're probably doing something similar, or there's somebody in the market that's providing just as good or better. And so to your point, like, it's funny. I always say this. I'm like, we are a sales and marketing company, my garage business, and we happen to sell garage floors and do those. And like, that's fine. But like, we are a sales and marketing platform. That's it. That's all we do. And if you don't view yourself that way and you want to be an artisan and like, be on every job and make sure like I have the best equipment or the best whatever, and we use the best product, like all that's great. And you might be able to charge more, but like, you're not going to scale your business and you're never going to have a sellable business. Like it's just a different thing. Like you have a job, like you're an artist. You have a job being an artist at roofing, and maybe you do, cedar shingle only. And like, exactly how to put them on right. And like, but you're an artist, you're a roofer. That's an artist. Yep. Like you don't have a roofing company.
Yep. It's so true. Cause we can go down a huge tangent with that. Because I was guilty of like, I had a job for for many years. I didn't know how to scale. It is a very hard thing to do. It's way easy. Just scale. It's easy. No, it's very difficult to scale.
Yes, it's very difficult. If you're out there and you feel bad about yourself right now because you've tried to scale and it's failed, like don't, because every person that's scaled has pretty much failed before at trying, and it is incredibly challenging.
It is very, very true. And one thing we keep talking about, and everybody talks about for a couple of years now, because private equity is all involved and all the things. One of the guys that I did a podcast with is Claudio Vilas. He's awesome. I don't know if you know him, but he's done a lot of these big private equity deals. He's very smart. He cares about like his sellers very much, as opposed to the buyer. Like he's not representing the private equity group that doesn't care. They just care about numbers. He cares about the actual people selling the business because they know they put it's my baby. Like I built this for 10 years. So what he said was, and I quote him all the time now, is you're gonna exit your business. You're gonna die. Something's gonna happen. You may get disabled. Like there's all kinds of things. His whole point was you are going to exit your business one day. Do you want to be an artist, a roofer artist, or a concrete coater artist? That's a decision. I would say, and pretty statistically true, it's a way riskier thing to do that than to try to scale. Because if you get hurt or you can't work, your business is done. Your job is done. So it's really important for anyone in the home service space to at least somewhat scale so that you can have the ability to sell it someday. Even if you plan on never selling it and giving it to your kids and whatever the reason is, you need to build a business to grow, to scale to some level, because that's what everybody else is going to do. And they're going to be conglomerated up. Customers are going to expect the private equity experience. There's good private equity, there's bad private equity. But in general, home services, customers are going to start realizing there's all this marketing money into, like what you said about, like, you guys are everywhere. You're like, that's a lot of that is just money. And if people just pump money into, I'm not going to say it's good money, but some people can just outspend you and be omnipresent, and then they will crush you. So if you don't start doing those same kind of things, you'll get crushed, and if you get hurt, your business is done. So keeping your acquisition costs low is one part of that deal, and using SendJim to actually send out those kinds of mail or direct mail things is part of that process. You have to learn. This sounds all great and everything, but this is one little piece to the big puzzle of building a business to be able to sell, even if you're never going to do it.
Yeah, it's the systems, right? And they're challenging, but the beautiful part of all that is technology is enabling us to automate and build the systems much easier than ever before. So before, 15 years ago, it was, I have this spreadsheet, I download it from my CRM, and then I, send it to the printer, and then I make sure they get distributed, or whatever it is you're talking about, right? And now it's much easier to say, I don't know how, to your point, I don't know anything about how to execute digital marketing, but I have an agency that can do that for me, and I understand what I'm looking for. And I have SendJim that can automate my quote follow-up and my whatever. And I have, Proline that can do this for me. And I have all these pieces in place, and I'm just kind of like the general manager. The point, like, I use this analogy of like a football team, right? Like at one point, like, you're every position, and then you become the quarterback, where you're like the most valuable player on the team. But the real goal is to be the general manager, where like the game is being played down there and you're just trying to bring in the right players, right? Like, maybe I need to swap out my marketing agency, or maybe I need a new CRM, or maybe I need a new team leader, or a new general manager, or a new salesperson. But like, you're just moving the pieces in and out of the game, and the game is being played without you. And a good gut check on this is like, how do I know where my business is at? You should be able to take like 2 weeks or maybe even a month off and go on vacation and have very little interaction with your business. And if you're able to keep the jobs being sold and keep the jobs being completed and the money in the bank and payroll still, running, that's a really good, that's a good indication of like where you're at. If you're like, I can't leave for 3 days, then you have a lot of work to do. If I could leave for a week, but then it gets hairy, like, that's a good measuring stick. If you could go for a month, 2 months, like, you're in a great spot.
That's a Dave Sullivanism right there. 2-week vacation. That is
2-week vacation.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. It's true. It's a good gauge. Like, if you can get 2 weeks and there's two sides of the thing. Can your company survive? That's great. But can it thrive? You have a really good system in place. You have a really good business. If jobs all those things you're saying, like, you leave for 2 weeks. I trust you guys. You guys have your roles. Yeah. Everybody knows what to do. Sales is happening. Production's happening. Billing's happening. Marketing's happening. All those things are happening. And you're still selling and you're growing the business. If you're not involved, it's so true. It's a magical thing. It's the thing I respect the most of anyone who can do that. Yeah. That they can truly be gone because of the work they've done for years to set up these systems. It's not just about the money. It's about like giving people purpose in their role. And they're like very satisfied. They're wired to do this role, and they love their job, even though it may be hard. It's not just like we're making money. It's like we're actually working well together as a team. That's incredible to me, that we can actually build something like that as a small business, basically from nothing. It's really, really incredible.
Yeah, that's the nirvana, right? And then if you can't do that, you start thinking like, well, what would be the reason I can't do that? And those are the things that you should start working on your business, not in your business, right? So it's like, well, I can't do that because I'm the one that sells, or I can't do that because I have to do the bank deposit or whatever it is. And maybe there's only one or two things and like you can do them remotely. That's great. But like if you want to move that direction, those are kind of the mental exercises you should be doing to figure that out.
Yep. 100%. All right. So one more time, tell people what SendJim does versus other people. Where do you see the most value from your customer base? Like this is important because again, we talked about like the echo chamber of our own businesses. We think we know that everybody knows about us, but I want to spread the SendJim love. And I want people to understand that you guys are a really good option when it comes to what you do. So tell everybody what you guys do.
Yeah. So if you're a Proline user, the very first thing I would say is that we're going to help build those automation sequences or be parts of those automation sequences so that they're even more robust than they already are in Proline, adding print to them, handwritten cards, gifting, postcards to the neighbors, all of those things to make sure your marketing dollars are getting the best return on investment. If you think of SendJim, we're going to help you get the best return on investment for your marketing dollars. And we're going to do that, by helping you generate more leads using very, very hyper-targeted marketing. We're going to help you make sure those leads are converting. We're making sure those quotes are converting, kind of working all the way down the funnel, making sure you get the review, and then actually marketing that review again in a very hyper-targeted way. It's that snowball of like this cycle. And just making sure you're not just blasting out marketing. Like most of us don't have that position where we can outspend our competitors. So the person that can be smarter with their marketing dollars generally wins. And we just really help you be smart with your marketing and make sure you're getting all the value you can out of the leads you're buying.
Love it. Love it. Well, Daniel, thank you for coming on to Big Risk Podcast today. And everybody watching, until next time.
Thanks, John. It was a blast.